Before we jump into the podcast, a quick word from today's sponsor, and that's Backwoods BMP. We've been proud to rep their product for about 3 or 4 years now, and it's truly a product I stand behind. It's saved my ass, well, more my sled, on multiple occasions. Sure, I've bent the bumper, but the great thing about Backwoods BMP is they've got a 50% off warranty. So if you do smash a tree, that new bumper isn't going to cost you full price. It's half off. I think that's a great thing they got going that nobody else does. And it's not just their front bumpers and rear bumpers. They've got lots of other structural components to beef up your sled, from subframe toe holds to rail braces, big wheel kits, you name it. That's why we're thankful for their support. And today we got a 15% off code for you guys to use at checkout, Muskoka 15. But let's jump into the podcast. This is the Post Ride Podcast, episode number 3. Today we're here with Caleb, Chase, and Dawson. We've been riding for about 5 days with these guys and a couple of weeks now almost with Dawson. Chase, Caleb, you guys introduce yourselves.
I'm Caleb from Silly Lake, Montana.
I'm Chase from Kalispell, Montana.
What are you guys riding for snowmobiles?
I got a 155 boost for this trip.
You get more.
Well, that's the only one that matters.
I figured you count them all off so you run out of fingers.
Because then you're just like flexing that you have a lot of sleds.
Okay.
The rentals, so it doesn't count. I have a 155 boost. That's all I'm riding.
And I know there's going to be some excited people watching that there's a cat guy in the house. Is he even wearing his cat hat?
I am. I got that on. I made sure I had that on. I am on a 23 165 M8000.
Coming from the 146 last year to a 165.
Yeah. Last year didn't go so well on that. I'm gonna say that the swing arm was broken, this and that, but it was better on the long track.
It was really just the one ride or a couple rides that didn't go well.
Yeah.
Most of the season went
Your first
okay.
impression was really.
Oh yeah, that was that the first day we rode, Matt?
Yeah, that was the first day we rode last year. I'm like, who's Caleb bringing along with him?
I was embarrassed.
No, we're just playing in the shit here. Come on! Yeah! Oh! No! That, I don't know if that was ideal.
Yeah, that was.
Chase has redeemed himself since.
No, but Chase has been doing really well the last few days, especially today on the 165 cat. I mean, we were up the other day, those gnarly tech lines through the trees, made it up there, no problem. Followed us everywhere today. A filmer that can snowmobile. I feel like that's pretty rare.
Yeah, that's kind of the niche I was really trying to go for, is that there's a lot of people that are really good with a camera, right? And there's a lot of people that are really good at snowmobiling, but kind of trying to combine the two. There's a small number of filmers in the industry that can do that. So
yeah, for sure.
Everybody loves a good picture of themselves. So if I can just provide that.
Yeah, and if it wasn't clear to you guys listening, Chase is more so just up here filming for the week with us. And I mean, here's just to hang out and have a good time and, of course, ride.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, mostly ride.
I think that's
the
why
number one priority.
Kind of came up was to ride
and to hang out. We had pizza a couple days. It was little pizza parties.
There's good friendship up here.
There is. Good
Riding
people.
is part of the fun, but there's a lot more fun to be had.
Last week was your first ride on the snow, day one with me. That Bluebird day, that was day one, right?
Yeah.
How you feeling from day one to today?
Oh, the cobwebs come off fast when you're riding with a crew like this, and then so day one, and then day two right away was when Caleb came up.
Yeah. You had an easy break-in day.
Oh my gosh, right to the fire.
No, we went up in the Alpine. It was sunny.
That was like the sleds break-in, and then the second day was when I kind of got broken.
It's been a rowdy year for, I think, most of us. We've just got right to the riding. Like,
yeah, 100%.
Day one, we just went right into it and haven't really stopped. I've actually taken a couple of days off because I've been sore. In the past, I'd never take a day off because I'm riding with the Ontario guys for, all of January basically when I first get out here, and that's my break-in. And riding with you guys isn't exactly that.
Yeah, going hard right off the bat. I had a couple rides that were like pretty mellow just because there wasn't snowpack to do anything. You get to like a mellow open hill and like do some hopovers and bow ties, go to the next one, and that'll wear the body down a little bit. It's good to like, you get out of breath after a couple hopovers and your body starts getting used to riding. But it's different when you just rally trees all day long And when you're like bouncing off each other, pushing to the top of a mountain, you know, you're burning energy in a way different way.
Yeah, today there wasn't. Today we rode with Keith Curtis and his crew, all rippers, and there wasn't much for breaks.
Not only are they all rippers, they're all super fit too. Like there's no one in the group was out of shape. I bet every single person in our group could run like a sub, probably 7-minute mile.
Yeah, everyone just leapfrogged all day long. And as soon as you stop, they're like, okay, let's carry on.
Yeah, you guys made it hard to film.
Yeah, we do that.
I feel like there's a little bit of testosterone too, and just like energy. Like everyone just wanted to rally.
Everyone wanted to be the first up and just go.
Yeah, a little bit of competitiveness too with, you know, having you and Keith on the mountain. It's like, who's going to get that top line? And it kind of feels good to, you know, if you're down here and kind of get a little higher than you or a little higher than Keith on a line. It's like, oh, well, that's
Yeah,
a little pride. I didn't do that, but
I
like,
had one of those lines today. I was like right at the top. I'm pretty tired at this point. I'm like, okay, we just got to push. We're almost there. Do like a hop over, come around. Caleb cuts me off. And yep, so then I roll myself over because I got stuck and go up, and there he is, just, you know, sitting on the hillside with his phone out. I'm like, yeah, you bastard.
Waiting for you. I waited a while. Were you out of breath, or did you get stuck again before you made it to me?
I almost got stuck again, and then I was just like out of breath. So I'm the one that's not in shape on the hill. Almost all of you guys were. Well, I don't know.
Just throwing Chase under the bus.
Point fingers there.
yeah, hang on, I'm just going to take a break and drink my beer.
For the record, when I was watching the GoPro video, it looked like you cut me off, not me cut you off. If you watch it, I had the momentum and you were stopped, and then you throttled into my way and then hit the brakes.
Is that how it happened?
Yeah,
You could see
I
that?
have GoPro evidence.
Okay, we'll have to insert that. What about the other time I cut you off?
Yeah, you cut me off. Basically, you just cut me off
So
a
it's
bunch of
payback.
times. Yeah. Somehow you cut me off and you still got stuck. Well, let's put the GoPro video in and we'll let them decide.
Yeah, both of them.
I think Caleb's momentum is just so fast that Matt was like, do. And then outside of Matt's peripheral, Caleb just zoom. So from your perspective, it looks like that.
Yeah.
The one clip, I know we don't even see Caleb in my footage, so
Ooh.
So does that mean you were?
he's kind of slow.
Yeah.
That's where you're going with that.
That meant you were in front.
Yeah.
Yeah, made the pass. And then I tried to make the path on Keith a little bit later on in that pillow field. That one didn't go so well for
No.
me.
That was a good one.
Yeah, I pretty much bounced off some rocks and I just couldn't hold it. So I grabbed the brake because I knew Keith was like right there and I didn't want to totally T-bone him. Oh!
If it was me, you would have. But Keith, you didn't.
Yeah, I would've
you don't
just-
know Keith
I
good
don't
enough
know
to
well
run
enough,
into him
no.
like that. Keith
Oh,
already
yeah,
had broke a bumper, so
He did.
don't want to
Yeah.
break more on his sled.
Dawson, you said one of your bucket list rides would be with Keith Curtis.
Yeah, I've always wanted to for years.
How'd that go today for you?
It was awesome. It was one of my best days I've ever had.
Yeah,
It was, yeah.
it was pretty cool. I was talking about it on the way up. I'm like, you know, today we're pretty much on the hill with two of the best snowmobilers in the world.
Literally.
Matt and Keith.
You got Caleb, just his super aggressive, technical, everything riding, and then world champion hill climb racer. So
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
pretty cool, yeah.
And then Dawson leading us.
Yeah, Dawson led us into the zone today.
I'm just a
You
nobody.
made the
just-
good calls.
You did. You didn't take us anywhere bad.
Well,
the
we-
only bad choice was when I pushed you to go up, or somebody, or was it you?
No, I think it was
that
both
was
of
bad.
us.
It's just
Yeah, that I think that was a team effort. And then when you guys started to go, then it's like, well, what am I supposed to say? Like, no, I'm not going there.
Yeah.
So
You know.
at the start of the day, just for you guys listening, we first went to this creek that we went up last year, Chase's first day, and he kind of wanted redemption at that. So we thought we'd have a look at it, and we went for it, and we didn't get very far. Caleb got pretty far, and his GoPro footage from that looks crazy.
Holy shit! Holy shit! I have the high mark, but it wasn't pretty.
Yeah, it wasn't that cool. It only looks crazy because I'm wide open, not moving. Not because it's deep, but because I'm spinning out on rocks.
Well, just the holes jumping over everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, then we made the call to turn it back, and Dawson brought us to that next spot, which was phenomenal.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that worked out good.
Yeah.
That was like the perfect difficulty level.
Yeah.
Where like we all made it, nobody suffered too much, but it wasn't easy.
It was a rally.
Yeah.
Chase got up to like where we were all, you guys were waiting for me too. And as soon as Chase shows up, everyone's gone.
Yeah, like as I'm pulling up to that opening, like helmets are being buckled. I was like, so I went up and I was like, oh, they're gonna ride this hill a little more. So I go up and I get the camera out, and I pulled out the camera. I didn't take a single shot because everyone just gone. And that's how it goes. It's like, as kind of the filmer, I have the camera out. People are gonna ride it, and then we're riding with this kind of group that's like, oh, they see the next pillow and they're just gonna go. So then they're gone. I'm like, okay, so we'll chase them down to the next spot.
Yeah.
But after 7 people go through there of that caliber, there is not much left. You had said rocks earlier, and oh my gosh, I bounced off some rocks today, trying to follow you guys.
And those guys aren't on the mountain to film, especially right now, right? They're up here just to ride for themselves, and that makes it really hard. They just kept pretty much leaving us, and they go off on their own little missions, and then we were funneled into the same spot, so we all eventually ended up at the top, and then the chute climbing started.
I like shoots, but with more coverage, ideally. They look good. The guts of them are filled in really nice, but then as soon as you get out of the gut to like climb up towards the peak, it's just all rock.
Yeah, they were way too scary for me today.
Yeah, I didn't see you in them at all.
You ran away. I can't believe it.
Yeah, there's not enough snow for me to go up any chutes today. I'm saving that for later in the year when we have more than 12 inches of snow in them.
I didn't see any rocks in the chute.
Maybe, yeah.
I watched your sled bounce off a couple rocks in the chute. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, that's on the side of the chute.
Yeah, you weren't on the sled, but
Well, minor details. It kind of got away from me there and didn't make it up, so we let it slide back down the hill. I'm like, there's no trees down there. We'll just let it go. I'm not going to hurt myself trying to hold onto the sled.
a little Sunday stroll. Let's go get it.
It was pretty funny from my angle just watching you walk down to your sled. Well, first I saw the sled with no context,
like,
just a sled going
what
down.
The hell? You radio me. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm all good.
Just hearing it on the radio is kind of funny. I just heard, hey, Matt, are you good? I just saw your sled go down the hill without you on it.
Dawson, how'd you feel at the end of today? Were you pretty beat after the ride, or is it just average ride for you?
I was pretty beat, but I feel like I'm slowly starting to get my stamina back.
Yeah, same here.
My first few rides, I would say I was more beat, just in the sense of just trying to get back into it.
Yeah, I was definitely starting to feel it at the end of the day. And I feel like maybe even Caleb was today a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I was feeling it. I don't know. I got a second wind towards the end of the day, but after we pushed up through that ravine and kind of got, I guess, like where I took that long lunch break before climbing chutes, I was beat there. I sat there a long time because Dawson and I were the first ones there. We probably were there like 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's a pretty impressive amount of time for you to sit there and not ride.
Yeah, I needed that recovery. Then I did pretty good, and then I don't know. I kind of do the same thing, like ride really hard, wear myself out, make bad mistakes, take a break, and then do it again.
I think you definitely wore yourself out in that next pillow zone too.
Yeah, I did. And then I got angry. I was like, I just got so mad because I just couldn't get that line in that I wanted.
You just kept pushing yourself. You were past the point of exhaustion, pretty much, and you just kept going because that's you. You're just so determined that you had to get that kind of side panel drop off that pillow.
Yeah, but I never got it, so I'm still mad. Not mad, but frustrated.
Yeah.
But yeah, that it's just like, it's just how I am. Like, if I see something and I know I can do it, I'm going to push to try to get it until I do. And you just push aside emotions and exhaustion.
Yeah, just from riding with you and watching you over the years, you could definitely see that determination, and it's cool to see how well it's worked for you. I mean, just like last year when we were on the mountain enjoying pizza, Caleb was just so determined to hit this jump and just butter it perfectly.
Clear that knuckle.
Yeah, just to clear the knuckle. We're all sitting around. The sun's going down. We just had the heli bring us pizza. And Caleb's just in his own world, determined to butter this jump.
Yeah, making that ramp right in the middle of all of us. Like, we were all standing
Yeah.
right there, and he's just like, "No, this is where the ramp's gotta be. I don't care about your pizza."
In that moment, no, not really. I did enjoy a slice afterward, but
Of cold pizza.
I think part of it's like, as a backcountry athlete, like, I'm self-proclaiming myself as a backcountry athlete. I don't have like competitions to win to like prove that. So my competition, like where I compete, is in the
against yourself.
backcountry against myself every day.
Yeah.
And without that attitude, I don't know if I would have been able to make it as far as I did, you know, because you have to have that edge or you end up just chilling. And
Yeah.
maybe not everyone, but I think I had to like go to that place to accomplish anything.
Yeah, I definitely find myself being the one that spends a lot of time chilling on the mountain, taking longer breaks than I should. It really depended on the riding group for me. Like, it's really good for me to ride with you guys because we're pushing a lot harder than, not to call out the Ontario boys, but they're
But you're gonna call him out.
not going to call them.
But it's also different. Like, you're not a self-proclaimed athlete. Like, you don't have to
No.
prove yourself as an athlete, where I might have like some of that feeling where like I have to prove myself every day,
Yeah.
or it's not real.
I guess I feel like I almost have to prove myself a little bit just because like I have built a name for myself now in the industry, which it's kind of a weird area for me between being like an athlete and just content creator. I don't want to be branded specifically as either one because I don't do, in my opinion, either one exceptionally well. Yeah, so I feel the pressure to ride well to keep up to you guys at least.
Yeah. You've created your own niche for yourself, and you're not just an athlete. You're not just a content creator. You're doing a bit of all of it.
Yeah, and at this point, I just feel like I have to do it all fairly well.
How do you handle that pressure?
When I'm riding with you guys and I make my mistakes, I'm like, fuck. It gets to me a little bit as to where I'm riding with other guys. It doesn't really bother me so much because usually I'm one of the best or the best in the group. So it's like you feel like you're doing well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's easy for anyone, no matter what skill level you are. If you're always the best rider in the group, your perception's completely skewed.
And, you running your clinics, I'm sure you see a lot of that where you get a guy that's the best in his group, and then he comes to a clinic, and he's like, ooh, maybe not.
Yeah, and they're not. It's not even that he's like shocked by my skill level. He's shocked by the skill level of everyone else in the clinic.
Because everyone's just shocked by your skill level. But
Well, yeah, I don't know about that,
No.
but it's just like people have seen videos, so they have this expectation, an unrealistic expectation, even at that, of my skill level, and then they expect the guys that they're going to ride with are going to be at their skill level, and
Yeah.
oftentimes it's not the case.
Chase, how'd you feel after today?
It was along the lines of what you just said. I think riding with groups like that makes you a lot better, a lot faster. Where kind of coming from the Midwest, the flatlands, right? There's some really good riders out there, but they're not the guys out here that are on the snow in the big mountains every single day, right? So you spend the time and you get better. And now coming out here riding with these boys, they're riding at the level that they are, which is just so extremely high. I think in one day I get so much better in one day with this kind of group
Yeah.
Where like whole seasons in the past, I don't think I've seen as much or got to do as much as like a day or two in the snow around here.
And do you feel the pressure like we do to ride well to keep up to these athletes?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm coming out here with kind of a goal of trying to capture the day, right? And that's creating that storyline. And to create that storyline, I have to be there for everything. So if I'm kind of hanging out in back and I can't keep up and kind of help do that leapfrog, I feel like I'm not fulfilling the goal that I set out for myself for that day, or like the goal that, you know, let's say if you guys on like film days where, you know, tired, it's kind of like a work thing, right? Like it's fun, but it's still work. And if I can't provide at that level because I can't keep up, that's where I get the pressure more on my side. And then, yeah, it can be, I guess to say it kind of right, almost a little bit embarrassing just to be like kind of stuck back there and, you know, keep going. And especially in the eyes of people that you've seen ride at that high level of that, you know, they have the fame in the snowmobile world. So
I really don't think that our group dynamic is like that different than other groups. You know, like nobody wants to be the guy.
Nobody
stuck.
wants to be the guy at the back.
And everyone wants to be a badass and wants to be the best. And
Well, like you said, there's a lot of testosterone on the mountain.
yep.
And Caleb, you've rode with lots of filmers over the years. How would you rate Chase on a scale of 1 to 10?
Oh boy.
Or just how would you rate him? How would you rate his skill level compared to other filmers you've ridden with?
Look me in the eyes when you say it.
I thought you were gonna go with like appearance, like his looks, but
Well, you could do both.
I mean, 10 out of 10 on appearance for sure. Skill, riding skill, I would say like probably 8 or 9.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
Any day of the week.
There's a lot of, not a lot. There's some. I've had the privilege to ride with some really good filmers that are really good riders. David McKinney being one that comes to mind. But outside of like Chase and David, there's no other names popping into my head of guys that I would want to join on like a day like today.
I'm sure that boosts your ego a little
I
there.
feel it.
Yeah.
All warm and fuzzy.
As long as you don't show up on a 146 cat.
This one time I learned my lesson, right? That's the big thing is I learned.
Yeah.
Look at me this year.
Yeah.
You know, I still got
But
the
what
one-
did you order?
A 146 cat.
With a smaller motor.
600
You know,
catalyst. I'm
when-
really excited for it because it's so much fun everywhere but here.
When you rode that Polaris last year, I gotta say you did quite well.
Yeah, that borrowed Polaris. No struggle.
Thank you, Caleb.
Did you?
for
I don't
letting me
remember
know
a single stuck.
Yeah, no, I did. You wrote it out.
I don't remember that. I remember riding your cat out. I don't remember riding the Polaris out.
Yeah, and it was broken. No, you wrote the Polaris out, and it wasn't because that one wasn't like I didn't think I could ride it out. It was just on top of a big.
You were scared. You didn't want to ride off a snowmobile.
I didn't want
Yeah.
to write off his snowmobile. I'll write off my own snowmobile, right? Like I don't. Everyone gets if you're on someone else's sled.
Yeah, yeah.
You treat it a little nicer. So when there was a big old chute that we were at the top of, I'm like,
Yeah, the helicopter day.
yeah, that was the helicopter day.
Yeah.
Yep. We built the highway on the side of the mountain.
That's definitely a day for the books. That was, I think, the coolest day I've had on the mountain.
Yeah, I would say probably my coolest day on the mountain ever. And it just, none of it was planned. Like, we weren't even planning on riding together. And I was just like, where are you going today? And then you kind of told me, I was like, well, I don't have anything better to do. So I guess we'll go.
Sorry, Dawson, you got left out.
Hey, but his brother was there. So
Yeah,
we had
that's true.
Shaflita.
Yeah. I don't know. It did look cool, but it's not really up my alley.
The first part of the day was.
Yeah.
Yeah, low elevation
trees.
trees and
Yeah,
creeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then the Alpine.
Yeah, the sun
I
came
think
out.
Oh yeah, that's usually when I go home.
Yeah, got sunny and nice. And
Yeah. That makes me upset.
So backwards.
probably the only person out there that thinks like that.
Do you think so?
Wants to storm ride every day.
Yeah.
Does not like the sun.
It wrecks the snow.
and you know,
You mean
that-
it sets it up so there's more traction?
Yeah, it wrecks it. Yeah.
No, it makes it better.
No. I don't like traction.
What?
I told you going fast scares me. I'm not like you.
I love going fast.
I want to be to the bar, not moving, struggling on flat ground to get anywhere.
That doesn't sound fun. I could go snowshoeing and have the same experience.
No,
Out of breath, not moving.
no, it's not the same.
It doesn't make turbo noises.
True. How come your cat's not making turbo noises? Did you wish it was making turbo noises today?
Yeah, there's a couple times. It did make me feel good a little bit about myself that everyone else was on a turbo.
6 Polaris boosts and 1 NA cat.
Yep. So, I mean, not to make excuses, but it felt a little
7?
bit.
7
I think it was 7 boosts.
I can't count.
Yeah.
I would have went
Wow.
with 6, but I saw you looking at me like I was retarded.
I knew. No, I was
Like,
trying
oh,
to
yeah,
think. I'm
I'm
like,
retarded.
I tagged this many people in my stories.
That's exactly what was going through my head too.
Yeah.
Regardless, the one guy without a Polaris boost.
And all the camera weight.
It wasn't that much weight.
No, it wasn't. Matt's got all the camera weight too.
Keith was Keith was pumping you up on that. Right, with all the camera weight, but
Quick break in the podcast to bring you a new sponsor, and that is Northern Upfitters out of Huntsville, Ontario. They're local to me over at home, and they've done all the work on my F350 from wheels, tires, flaps, leveling kit, airbags, and everything in between. They don't just modify vehicles, general maintenance, repairs, plows, you name it, they do it. And they're also not just mechanics, they're sledders too, so that's why I'm stoked to have them as a sponsor on the channel.
And then also today on our ride, someone had some issues with their Polaris that I think we should talk about and give people a remedy for that.
Yeah, I feel like most people know about it, judging by
They-
all the Facebook posts
they
on
do
it.
know,
But
so-
the high facts is no rail caps and not being tapered very nice. I don't really see an issue not having the
Rail
rail
caps.
caps, but I just think they need to be, the sliders need to be tapered a little more, beveled a little better, and cut flush with the end of the rail, not sticking out so far.
Yeah.
Which is something I've been meaning to do, but I'm like, I got 300 miles. It hasn't popped off yet. It'll be fine. And then today it did pop off.
So I think you said that this morning. You're like, mine's all wore in.
Yeah,
I'm-
yeah.
I
did.
said the
I
same
did.
thing. I'm like, yeah, I've been riding it long enough now. It's probably rounded itself, but
Just got the right hit. It was right when I went over a stump, pushed up the track. I must have pushed up the track in the right spot. And just
it's
ripped
honestly
it out.
surprising we haven't done it sooner.
It is. It is.
So-
With all the crap we've been riding over.
No. So I think tomorrow before I go out to ride, I'll be taking the knife or some kind of tool in through the track windows and just rounding off that sharp edge to.
Yeah, definitely.
So I was thinking to myself on the way down the hill today, we're riding with all these athletes and whatnot, and tomorrow I think we're going to have another pretty killer group. I was like, what'd be interesting is to do a surprise like mock burial situation where someone's buried on the mountain, because we're riding with all these athletes, and we just kind of assume that everybody is trained and knows how to use their gear.
I was pretty confident in our group today, but maybe overconfident, and you just don't know until you're in that situation. I've ridden with Keith. I've spent a fair amount of time with Keith, so I feel like I trust Keith. I've ridden with you enough that I feel like I trust you. But then the rest of the group, like, I just don't know those guys at all. I've never ridden with them before. That's part of why when I was doing the transceiver check, I looked at them and asked, like, do you have a shovel and probe?
Yeah.
What's your battery level at in your transceiver? But that should be done regardless of whether you
That should
trust
be
someone.
done every
Just,
day,
yeah,
yeah.
just as a reminder. But yeah, that's a great question, and something that you should always be thinking about when you go out on the mountain with new people. And I think it's really easy to forget to think about that when you're riding with guys that are pro riders or sponsored riders. And like, I don't want to have to hassle Keith about his avalanche gear, but it's
No,
the
of
right thing
course.
to do.
It is.
And I make mistakes and leave stuff occasionally, and he could. And it's not accountability and trying to like call someone out. It's just making sure the whole group's on the same page.
Last year when I started off my season riding with the Ontario guys, I would do probably over a week. I probably did like 3 or 4 mock burials and just testing the guys on their gear. Whereas starting off this year riding with all you guys, I'm like, well, do I really need to do this? But I think it's always a good thing to practice. Not just for us, it kind of gives a reminder to everybody watching as well that you need to think about your gear and make sure you know how to use it.
Yeah,
It's easy to
absolutely.
get complacent.
Yeah,
for sure.
it is when we're out there every single day with guys that are just rippers.
I think a big thing that happened in our group today that was almost a little bit hard to keep track of just because there's so many people everywhere, but is riding on top of each other. Because like once we got up to that chute area where I started making pulls, we were definitely in avalanche terrain there.
Yeah, we were.
And it wasn't a big, like I didn't see things that were like big red flags or making me nervous, but there were a couple times where I popped over a roll and had a rider lower than me. And that's just as if I rode that hill as if nobody was under me, that would be a concern.
Yeah, I felt confident in the snowpack today, but at the same time, I haven't ridden that area. I'm basing that off of riding, Boulder. So today, the snowpack was different where we were riding than Boulder. So maybe I was kind of a little complacent there and took some chances that I maybe shouldn't have. Like when I went up that one chute that I was trying to pull by myself. I wasn't putting anybody else necessarily in danger at that point, but there was quite an open face before that chute that could have possibly let go. And then at that point, I did think to myself, I'm like, the only one that's really here watching me right now is Chase, who's flying a drone. This maybe isn't the best decision. I know Caleb's up on a cliff watching me, but he's kind of stuck there.
I'm not going to get to you very fast.
Yeah.
He's up on a cliff.
So I think maybe I got a little overconfident or just too excited to make it up that chute, and I should have played it a little safer there.
Yeah, it's good to have those takeaways, and it's not like it doesn't take away from all the right choices you made today, or me or anyone else, but just acknowledging where risks are being taken and how to mitigate them in the future.
We'll just touch on an issue the other day we had with a rider going down the mountain, which, I'm not going to put all the blame on him because maybe me and Dawson got a little carried away. We had radio contact, but then we popped up over a ridge and we were down there for probably 15 minutes or so. And we figured the guy would be right behind us, but he wasn't. And then we're like sitting there, not necessarily wanting to climb right back up this hill, because it is kind of rocky, so we didn't want to have to go up, down. But what we should have done, instead of just getting too excited to get into this new zone, we should have waited at the top where we had radio contact. He was no more than a half mile away, but it's just we had this peak in the middle. You guys couldn't hear us either on the radios, I don't believe. So if I didn't make this clear, we had a rider that went down the mountain because he couldn't get a hold of us, so he just went down. Definitely some fault to us there.
I feel like for me, it's been talked about in our group multiple times. Is sometimes we don't ride as close as we should.
Yeah,
for sure. But it's like you said, you get excited and everyone's racing to the top or to wherever you're going, and it's easy to get separated, I find, and in a situation that I guess something does happen, well, you're that much farther from them, I guess.
Yeah. Definitely a good way to ride is with the buddy system, to always keep an eye on your buddy. But it's so easy to just say that when you're actually in the moment and, you think your buddy's right behind you, but he got stuck and you're still pulling the same line. And then you get up to the top and your other buddy's there and you're like, oh yeah, let's just drop here quick.
There might have been some miscommunication on the radio too. I'm not sure.
Yeah, there could have been miscommunication there. It's just always important to stay in touch with your partners if they're not in sight.
And kind of an unsaid rule is that you don't leave the mountain without communicating clearly and having a plan. If somebody's riding out solo, like that should be established in a group setting. Like, hey, I am going out. I'm taking the trail and only the trail. If my truck's still there when you get out, something went wrong somehow, and come find me. You don't just disappear off the mountain, because then your group has no idea what happened. Like, did he have a heart attack and is he like dead in the woods? Did he just get a hissy fit and like want to go home?
Yeah.
Radios should make that pretty easy to just communicate, and even if you can't communicate through radio, like
Just
stay
go-
put until your group finds you.
You just go to the last meetup spot where you were with your riders,
Yeah,
right?
general rule of thumb.
Because radios aren't always perfect, and now that we can watch other riders on the Polaris screen, sometimes that also glitches out. Not so much glitches out, but if a rider shuts their sled off, it won't necessarily say they are where they are. And then the radio issues, like Chase's radio today, couldn't really hear anything he was saying. You could hear when he keyed the mic, but didn't really hear anything.
I highly recommend Frogskin's screen cover for radios.
Yeah.
Because Frogskin's makes them for BCA and Oxbow radios, and I think several others. And they just stick on, and it eliminates almost all of the ice issues in the mic.
Yeah, especially up here where there's so much moisture in the snow.
Yeah.
Like, it's been fine pretty much all week though, right? And then just one snowflake basically gets in the right spot.
So you don't have a frog skin on your.
I do not.
You're running the BCA.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of figured those would come with the frog skin.
They should.
The Oxbow that I got this year, it comes with the frog skin, and it's worked really well so far. I was running the Baofeng before. They had a cover on them, but sometimes you run into a lot of issues with those cheaper radios like that with the mics. So the half of last year, I just running my radio in my pocket, and I just pull it out when I needed to radio. But having the radio right here, I think, is really important too.
Yeah. If your radio isn't handy, you're not going to use it enough that it's really that helpful.
Well, and hearing other riders, if they're radioing, like lots of times, I was riding when I heard Dawson today say over the radio, "Oh, I lost my Hyfax," and I'm like, "Come on."
Yeah, I like being able to, even if I'm riding, even if I can't necessarily hear what someone's saying,
You can hear that somebody's on the mic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you can stop and say, "What was that?" Or
Which is important for an emergency situation too. If you hear someone yelling and screaming over the radio that there's an AVI or something like that, that's a lot more useful than it going off in your backpack or your pocket.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, in situations like that, seconds matter, and going like this instead of zipping and being like, "So you say something?" Like, and
And even if you get in a bind on your snowmobile, say your snowmobile's pinned on top of you against a tree or something, you're not necessarily going to be able to reach into your pocket, get your radio out, but your radio up here is going to be pretty close where you could just say, "Yeah, I need a hand."
The probability of getting to that radio is a lot higher.
Yeah.
What radios have you ran? The Baofeng, the Oxbow. Have you ran the BCA?
I haven't ran the BCA, no. Ran the Baofeng for the last few years, and it worked pretty well. But like I said, I ran into the mic issues, and I lots of the guys I've ridden with the Baofengs also run into mic issues. So far this year, switching to the Baofeng or switching to the Oxbow, a couple things I like is the battery life. I could go multiple days without charging it, whereas the Baofeng would be like a day and a half, maybe 2 days. Then another thing I like with the Oxbow is it comes with multiple mounting options put right on your strap, and I haven't had any ice buildup issues so far. Everyone's been able to hear me as far as I'm aware.
Sweet. Yeah, it seems like the new Oxbows are a lot better than the older ones.
Is that what you're running now?
No, I run the BCA.
BCA
and I
still?
love the BCA. Yeah.
You've been running that pretty much exclusively.
Yeah, they're simple, and the range isn't phenomenal, but it hasn't been an issue for me, and the simplicity and convenience outweighs any drawbacks.
I think we're
Radios.
pretty much finished up our radio conversation.
yeah,
We beat that one to
the-
death. That was my fault because I brought it back into the conversation when it was almost over.
Another thing when it comes to safety, I noticed today, what avalanche transceiver are you running?
The Peeps.
The Peeps. Is that the updated one with the lock that was the issue there a couple of years ago?
Yeah.
I'm not too familiar with how that one works. It just kind of almost looks outdated to me from running the Mammut.
Oh, yeah. It's still a 3 antenna. It should still be the same technology as any of the other ones.
Yeah, nobody's running a BCA tracker 2 here.
Speaking of groups and group safety, I had a group a couple weeks ago and went to do a transceiver check, and we had 2 guys without transceivers.
Without.
And I think 2 guys without probes.
Why was that?
Just the group dynamic did not prioritize avalanche safety the same way we would. And some of the transceivers were the single antenna, like old school single antenna transceivers.
And these are guys like that should know better.
Oh yeah, it caught me off guard. I was expecting the group to have a little better safety. So when I do a transceiver check and every single person has their transceiver on, every single person has gear, that's a good start at least to like building some confidence. When multiple people don't have transceivers and don't have probes, my confidence in group safety for that day is 0.
Yeah, no kidding. What did you do in that situation?
Well, I had multiple spare transceivers and one spare probe in my truck. So when we left the parking lot, every single person had a transceiver, proper battery percentage, and we had one guy without a probe, and we just talked about it. And you shouldn't need every person in the group to have a probe.
Not
Obviously, everyone should, but
yeah.
I still went out with him. But I actually told the group like I wasn't going out if we didn't all have transceivers.
No,
like just made a hard rule. Like
it needs to be a hard rule. Yeah, it shouldn't be compromised on. I've forgot to wear mine before and just had to go back for it. It's how it is. Did they think maybe because it was early season?
I don't really know. I didn't dig into it a ton. I probably should have just like probed at it a little bit. I probed at it. Yeah. Funny.
Sorry, I had to.
I don't really know. Nobody really tried to justify it. It was just like, I guess we don't. Well, this transceiver's dead. This one, they would have went out like that. What I see in the industry is a really high standard for avalanche safety. Like our group today, the guys we're riding with, but the average rider maybe still doesn't have that same level of preparedness that they need to.
Yeah, it can be hard too. A lot of that stuff, it's not cheap. Like
No, it's definitely not. And I put off my training longer than I should have. I obviously always had all the gear, but I put off pretty much all of my training. I did do like classroom stuff. And it wasn't until last year I actually got my AST2. I got my AST1 the year before that, which I'm not sure what the corresponding course would be in the States. ARI.
Yeah, I think ARI 1 and ARI 2 recreation would be about the same. Yeah, okay. I think they're really close.
And you have your 2, I'm assuming.
I only have a 1. Oh. I have multiple 1s and a rescue, but not a 2.
Okay. What about you, Chase?
I've done the only ones I've really gone to are just the online, or not online, but the like dealerships will have stuff like that. So yeah, I know I'm behind on it. I'm just I'm
Is
one
it
of the,
something
part
that
of the problem.
You're thinking about doing, or
yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's excuses for it, but it comes down to the timing thing. The season's so
that's
short.
how everybody
traveling around
says,
all over, and I'm like, man, I want to do it, and then I'll plan on doing it, and then all of a sudden, hey, come out to Colorado or Wyoming this week, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go ride instead, right? Like
that's why like Soul Rides up here, who I took my training with, they really push the early season classes before there's even almost enough snow to get a good read when you're digging your pits and you're looking at the snow, but you can still do all the practical knowledge and rescue scenarios. So that's why they push the early season stuff. And when the riding's not that good, it's, I think, a great time to practice that stuff.
And it's nice to have a refresher at the start of the season instead of waiting till mid-season or something.
Yeah, I think they're doing online stuff now as well. And I said to Jeremy, who owns Soul Rides, when he was telling me about how he's doing this online stuff now, it's a whole program, and I'm like, oh, that'd be cool to give myself a refresher, because even though I took my AST2 last year, I'm like, feel like I forget almost half of what I learned. So it's just good to refresh yourself, and not to pick on Dawson, but what about you? What do you got?
Just AST1 classroom and field.
Yeah.
No AST2.
How long ago did you do that?
It was quite a few years ago.
Yeah.
It's something too that's on my list to do, like probably another AST1 as a refresher, and then AST2 just because it's been so long. It's just, well, like he was saying, I find it hard to make myself do
Yeah.
it, you know?
Yeah.
I was gonna last year, but I didn't end up doing it.
It's the same reasons I put it off for so long.
But I think a level 1 should be the standard for all recreational riders, and then higher than that for pro riders.
Yeah.
Which I would fall into that. And I'm actually working on getting a Pro 1 set up for early season. Same type of thing as what we're talking about. Like, it's hard to fit it in the winter.
All right. I think that's enough about safety. Just it's good to touch on. But what you guys all riding tomorrow?
I think so.
Hell yeah.
I was planning on it.
We have the biggest crew the world's ever seen tomorrow.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I'm gonna need all my camera batteries by the sounds of it.
Well, or you'll just be chasing around like today.
I think there's gonna be so many people that I don't think it's gonna be quite like it was today.
Yeah.
Just because there's gonna be people everywhere, so it's not gonna matter if I'm at the bottom of the hill or at the top.
There'll
Or
be some shittier
side.
riders that you'll be better than that you can take pictures of.
They're going to be on Skidoo.
I didn't say anything, but there's just gonna be so much more going on.
Yeah.
I'm not really worried about that.
Is tomorrow the last day for both of you for riding, or what's your plan?
Am I evicted?
No, you're not. Your welcome is
Yeah, how long can we stay here? That might determine how long
as
we're
long as
riding
you
here.
want.
Yeah, I got to get back home.
Yeah.
So I'll probably ride tomorrow and then leave the next day.
Probably leave Tuesday morning.
Yeah. Well, it's been good having you guys up here. Thanks for hopping on the podcast. And me and Dawson are going to keep shredding pow and thinking of you guys.
Well, thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting us crash at your place. Really appreciate it. It's been a blast riding. It's been probably some of my favorite early season riding I've ever done.
Yeah, it's been a ton of fun.
Yeah, I agree.
A lot of cool stuff, and hopefully we send it out with a banger tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch you on the next one.